We couldn't have done it without you.
Strong schools, strong communities.
Thank you.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The Palm Beach County School District in the business of education, hosting an event aimed at educating businesses.
What it would be the next step for a company like ours?
Jessie Crespo is the co-owner of a small AC company in Boynton Beach. Jessie wants to thank the school district for hosting this town hall and trade fair, providing her with new information and contacts that will help her succeed.
All we want to do is be competitive and to not just survive but excel and grow and be that multi-million-dollar company eventually so we can leave that legacy for our families. And that's what we're here for.
Dickie Sykes is the director of the school district's Office of Diversity in Business Practices, the sponsor of this event.
So today, we hope to shed some light and provide some solutions.
Ms. Sykes and an expert panel answered questions dealing with topics like public procurement, federal contracting, marketing, branding, and philanthropic work.
When businesses in the community do well, they pay higher taxes, they pay goods and services, they buy lots of goods and services, they hire more employees. It's a win-win for the district, it's a win-win for our students, it's a win-win for the community.
This event, just another example of the school district reaching beyond our schools to improve the quality of life in Palm Beach County. I'm Rick Blackwell for the Education Network, keeping you informed.
Explore new worlds. recognize Hammock Point Elementary School on last Thursday night. They received the Community Impact Award for academic excellence on their preventive counseling program. So they were the only school in the county that was recognized for that award. So congratulations to Hammock Point Elementary School. And the ladies that sang here earlier for the national anthem sang last night at the West Boca Community Council meeting. They sang about 4 or 5 songs last night for the group that was there, and I pointed out to most of those were retirees in the room, and I thanked them. As one of you mentioned, the retirees in this county were instrumental in making sure the referendum passed, which is amazing because all of their children are far past the age where they're attending our schools, but they support us every single time, and they were very impressed last night when I told them that the tax dollars that were being raised, we're going to make sure that those young ladies could continue singing. So I join my colleagues up here thanking the community for supporting our referendum, to making our schools safe and protecting our arts programs and recognizing wonderful teachers that we have in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Good evening. So let me also add my thanks to the voters for supporting the referendum. And let me also add my thanks to the veterans who have served. You may know that I practiced medicine at the West Palm Beach VA for more than 2 decades. And so they taught me every day, each and every day, that freedom is not free. And many of my patients paid a lot for us to have some of the privileges that we have. And we need to guard those privileges. And I'm a put a period there because I'll run down the street with that one, but we need to protect the rights and privileges that our ancestors have fought for. So let me go on to my monthly Black History Fact. Now, we have a resolution on the agenda that will also share some history with you. But since it is election season, it seems appropriate to make note of 2 people whose names are synonymous with the importance of voting, and that's Harry T. and Harriet Moore. Much of this information comes from biography.com, and I'm going to skip parts of it. But just so you know, Harry Moore was born in Houston, Florida, which I never heard of, and graduated from Florida Memorial College. He accepted a teaching job in Cocoa, Florida, and there he wed Harriet Sims, actually on Christmas Day in 1926. He founded the first Brevard County branch of the NAACP, and in that role, he investigated lynchings and filed lawsuits regarding voter suppression. Okay. Additionally, he worked to have equal pay between Black and white teachers and assisted with lawsuits challenging separate but equal education. He is well remembered for his dedication, though, to voter registration. And due to his efforts, by 1950, Florida had a higher rate of registration for eligible Black voters than any other southern state. Both of the Moores were fired from their teaching positions because of their activism, and Mr. Moore went on to become state president of the NAACP and later formed the Progressive Voters League after the Supreme Court ruled in 1944 that the Democratic Party could not prevent Black voters from voting in the Democratic primaries. He was also involved in the Groveland case, which you may know, where 4 Black men were accused of raping a white woman. 1 fled and was killed. The other 3 were convicted, with 2 getting the death penalty. But in April of '51, the Supreme Court ordered a new trial for the 2, citing prejudicial pretrial publicity. So in November of '51, while the 2 men were being transported, they were shot by the sheriff. Harry T. Moore insisted that the sheriff be indicted for murder. So, on Christmas night, 1951, on their 25th wedding anniversary, the Moore home was bombed. No ambulance would take them to the nearest hospital because it was whites only. Mr. Moore died on the way to the hospital, and Mrs. Moore died 9 days later in the Black hospital in Sanford, Florida. They were first and possibly the only married couple killed during the fight for civil rights. In fact, poet Langston Hughes wrote a commemorative poem entitled The Ballad of Harry T. Moore, and the NAACP awarded Moore its Spingarn Medal. Ebony magazine called the killing, quote, "the bomb heard around the world." The murders were investigated by the FBI in 51 and 52 without conclusion. Additional investigations in the 70s and 90s concluded that members of the KKK had committed the murders, but by that time they were dead, meaning the culprits were dead. The story of Harry and Harriet T. Moore is told in a documentary entitled Freedom Never Dies. And Mr. Moore's wallet, locket, and watch, which survived the bombing, are on display in the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which I hope our fifth graders see when they visit Washington, D.C. And so it is my hope, it's my request that while we teach civics and teach the importance of voting, that every student knows that Harry T. and Harriet Moore gave their lives for us to be able to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I, too, want to thank everybody in the community for the support of the referendum. And tonight, my comment is somewhat related to the referendum, but also something to recognize one of those things that's not visible to the public. But as of today, our school police department has grown by 51 officers that have now been employed by the district, including 3 that were sworn in today. And of particular credit absolutely goes to our officers who do an amazing job. And I, for one, believe that we have the best school law enforcement safety program in this country at this point in time for the children of Palm Beach County. And the good thing is that every single day, our officers and our department are working to make it better every day. I had a chance to talk, and I want to thank Chief Kitsero, because if this school district's done anything this year that was exceptional, the selection of Chief Kitsero as our leader in that department is definitely something. He shared with me the layers of communication that he's established county-wide. Just a quick example is regular articulation that he has with local police departments, with those chiefs, with the fire departments in every municipality in the county, and our school to police department, that layer, that 3-tiered layer of communication is something that happens on a weekly basis, and it's something that really impressed me that we're doing that. So as we take a moment for Thanksgiving and to be thankful for what we have in this county and in this country, I think this is a time for us to not only recognize our veterans, but also another thank you to those first responders and those law enforcement people who are out there helping us on a daily basis. That brings us to our presentations. And tonight I'd like to call in Dr. Robinson. She has a motion to make, and then we'll go into the presentations. Dr. Robinson.
Yes, there is a board item, BRD1, which is a resolution to honor Judge Edward Rogers. His family is here, so it's my request that we take it out of order so that we can present the resolution to the family as part of our the early part of our board meeting.
Motion by Mr. Barberi, second by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. So if the board will go down front, we'll go into the presentations, and Dr. Robinson is going to read in the resolution.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to read the resolution into the record just before we go down and present this. So this is resolution number 18-03. The School Board of Palm Beach County, Florida desires to recognize retired Judge Edward Rogers, who recently passed away, and to adopt this resolution. Whereas Judge Edward Rogers, a former circuit court judge of the 15th Judicial Circuit and for Palm Beach County, Florida, passed away on October 20th, 2018. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers served as a vocational teacher and guidance counselor at Roosevelt High School in the 1950s, where he protested the unequal pay of black teachers. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers graduated first in his class from the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University Law School in 1963, returning back to Palm Beach County to become the first black prosecutor prosecutor or solicitor, and later the first black assistant state attorney. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers became the first black county court judge and later circuit court judge upon appointment by Governor Reuben Askew, he served as the chief judge for the 15th Judicial Circuit in 1984 and retired from the bench in 1995. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers was the recipient of the prestigious Jefferson Award at the U.S. Supreme Court in 1991 for his efforts establishing drug courts in Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, and Delray Beach. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers was elected to the City of Riviera Beach City Council in 1999 and served as the first chairman of the Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers was also the recipient of the Gideon Award from the 15th Judicial Circuit Office of the Public Defender for his efforts to ensure equal justice for indigent members of our community, and whereas annually the Palm Beach County Bar Association recognizes the efforts and strides Judge Edward Rogers made in our legal community to address diversity and inclusion by awarding the Judge Edward Rogers Diversity and Inclusion Award to individuals or organizations demonstrating best practices of diversity and inclusion. And whereas Judge Edward Rogers champions human and civil rights and equality across all racial, gender, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups in Palm Beach County, now therefore the School Board of Palm Beach County, Florida declares and resolves that Section 1, the foregoing recitals are true, correct, and incorporated into this resolution by this reference to the School Board wishes to honor and recognize posthumously Judge Edward Rogers for his contributions to Palm Beach County and for his many years of dedicated service to Palm Beach County community. And Section 3, the resolution shall take effect immediately on this 14th day of November. The School Board of Palm Beach County, Florida, a corporate body politic, signed by Superintendent Dr. Donald E. Fenoy II and Board Chair Chuck Shaw. And I would like for his son, affectionately known as Eddie Two, to come forward and receive the proclamation.
Let me read it. Call for the vote. You got to call for the vote first. You got to call for the vote.
We did. I thought, didn't we vote?
No, we did not.
All right. Once everybody gets down there, we'll take the vote on this item.
Okay.
So,
go ahead, Chuck. I got it. Can I read it first? Let me. I recommend the board approve and ratify the attached posthumous resolution to honor and recognize Judge Edward Rogers.
all in favor, all opposed. Motion carries 7-0. And on my way down, I had the pleasure to have served as a principal for one of the members of this family, so knew Judge Rogers as during the time he was a parent.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent and staff, and community members. This evening, we have 3 presentations on the agenda. We begin with a recognition of our school district for being designated a Florida Healthy School District for 2018 to 2020 by the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools and receiving a silver level flag for that achievement. The partnership is a grassroots coalition whose members represent organizations such as the Florida Department of Education, Action for Healthy Kids, Florida Florida PTA, and a number of other statewide professional health organizations. The purpose of the partnership is twofold: to inform advocacy for school health issues and recognize excellence amongst Florida school districts. Here this evening to present the flag to the school board, along with a polo shirt for Dr. Fenoy, we have Ms. Rakita Patel, Health Education Coordinator with the Florida Department of Education, Eric Stern, the district's K-12 Physical Health and Driver Education Administrator, and we also have Ms. Paula Triana, Manager of Wellness Promotion in the District's School Food Service Department, Allison Monbleu, Director of the School Food Service Department, Ms. Frances Rosier, Executive Assistant in Wellness Promotion. And anyone here this evening as well who contributed to this achievement, please join us at the front, and let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you. Next, we want to recognize the Fleming Family Foundation for their donation of more than $35,000 to the school district's Exceptional Student Education Department. The donation provided by the Fleming Family Foundation will help several classrooms for students with significant disabilities, providing unique learning experiences tailored to the students' individual needs. The Fleming Family Foundation was established to assist people throughout the community. William Fleming, who is the father of our recipient this evening, suffered from MS, and because of that experience, which raised her awareness of disabilities, Ms. Molly Fleming has supported students with disabilities in our school district for many years. She has funded the very special science fair, which allows students to not only participate in a science fair, but also to attend a special day at the Palm Beach Zoo. The foundation has also helped some of our neediest students by providing teachers with color printers, ink, and paper so that they are able to create engaging materials for their students. The district deeply appreciates the Fleming Family Foundation's continuous support of educational initiatives for children with disabilities in Palm Beach County, and this most recent donation, of course. Here tonight to accept this recognition, we have Ms. Molly Fleming, founder and head of the foundation. Let's give her a round of applause. And finally this evening, we would like to recognize Ms. Pamela Jo Wilson, a case manager for teacher effectiveness in the district's Adult and Community Education Department. Ms. Wilson recently won the award for Instructional Support Staff of the Year from the Adult and Community Educators of Florida Foundation. Ms. Wilson has been with the school district for nearly a decade and has worked as a teacher, project manager, and trainer, in addition to serving on various advisory committees. She has always loved helping people, and she is passionate about teaching and providing support services. She lives for that light bulb moment that others have when she helps them learn something new. Ms. Wilson says that her sons keep her going because she wants them to see that hard work pays off and that they can find their passion and look forward to going to work each day. We are proud to recognize Pamela Jo Wilson for her dedication to the school district and for being named Instructional Support Staff of the Year. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent and staff, and members of the community, this concludes the presentations for November. The Communications and Engagement Department invites you to visit the district website at www.palmbeachschools.org to learn about all the great things happening in our schools, as well as our departments and communities. Make sure to follow us on social media, available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. And we also encourage you to download our mobile app in Google Play or from the App Store. Search for a school district of Palm Beach County in either store. Thank you, everyone, for your attention this evening, and have a good night.
Our next item on the agenda is our report from our student government representative. And just so everybody's aware, as soon as he's finished, he will be leaving us because he plays soccer on his school team. So we wish you a lot of luck today. So, Nolan Nursery.
Thank you very much for hoping to beat Spanish River tonight. It should be an easy game. It'll be easier once I show up, of course. You know. Kidding. We'll see. Our next general session and meeting for the County Council will be tomorrow at William T. Dwyer High School. They'll be having presentations from different organizations like Honor Flight and Suits for Seniors. We have the CEO coming out, Tay Edmonds, to talk to us about leadership and different ways we can get involved in our community with different organizations of people. They will be doing a for our service project, they'll be making veteran care packages to be taken to the VA hospital, since we recently had Veterans Day this week. An update on the homeless care packages that we made at the last meeting. We took those over to the Palm Beach County Food Bank, and they're very thankful. Hopefully they'll be there for Thanksgiving to support the families that don't have much. And then by the next meeting, tomorrow, we will be passing several resolutions, hopefully, so I'll hopefully have them for the next meeting. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
I think every one of the board members has about 15 questions they'd like to ask so that we can delay you. And so, not really. You're off the hook. Enjoy your game.
Mr. Shaw, I do. I don't want him going to play Spanish River tonight.
So, good luck. Thank you very much. Our committee reports, we have the Academic Advisory Committee and the Audit Committee that have no report they'll be given tonight. So the next item is our Court Committee. Mr. Doctor.
Good evening, Chairman Shaw, school board members, superintendent, staff. My name is Lou Doctor. I'm here tonight on behalf of our Construction Oversight and Review Committee. We have 12 authorized members right now, and we're hoping for another one soon. And all 12 were at the meeting, so we had 100% attendance. We looked at your facilities construction on your agenda. It's FC1, FC2, and FC3. They're all moving forward with facility construction improvements. It was a very interesting presentation that we received. Over 15 vendors submitted proposals that your screening and selection committees reviewed in order to pick the outstanding vendors who will be doing the work for us. And a number of the vendors are coming from South Florida in addition to Palm Beach County, which means the work is phasing out of the design and into the construction down at that end of the world. Kristen McAuliffe, FC4, was the final closeout payment on the modules that were installed in the school. That returned a credit of almost $10,000 to us. And we reviewed your contingency items. 7 schools were involved in various phases of construction, and there were 33 activities in the entire package. Some of them gained money, some of them lost money. The detail was good, and we're pleased to see that that phase of the program is working well. Under purchasing construction, 10 new vendors submitted their applications to become certified by the district, and there were 4 renewal vendors. Design services were proposed for PC2 on your list, which is repair work for Northmore Elementary and Weston Pines Middle School. We had a lengthy discussion on it. The package submitted was fine. We're concerned about the identification of the deficiencies that we're bidding on in the schools and the impact of cost escalation by the time we get to physically do the work. The prices of aluminum and steel are changing, and it's difficult to get a hard bid from a vendor and to be able to hold it to them. So that's of concern, and obviously your staff is well aware of it, and they're going to be watching that closely. PC3 was design services for Pioneer Park Elementary, and PC4 was facility renovation repair for Forest Hill Elementary and Woodlands Middle School. We're getting involved, obviously, in the sales tax funding being spent for design and construction. On a new item under business, Cork passed a motion that in accordance with School Board Policy 1.09, the Advisory Committee to the Board, paragraph 5B, the Construction Oversight and Review Committee voted unanimously to recommend that term limitations for the committee chair be extended. It is understood that if the board approves this motion, the committee chair may run for re-election at the next election. I think you've all met Dave Porter, who's a working architect who does an excellent job leading the core committee. We certainly would encourage you to see that he moves forward. Cork member Alan Gass gave us a briefing on the ACE program. That's architect, construction, and engineering, where he introduces the students and the classes to various aspects of those fields, brings in demonstration material and shows them drawings and materials and how to go together. It's an interesting introduction to those technologies, and it's completely funded by the vendors that he has come in to talk to the kids. So it was a good first step forward in getting an introduction. Hopefully it'll lead to the kind of program we have at Seminole Ridge, where we build modular homes and put them out to the community. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Mr. Doctor, every month, thank you so much for your service and the work you do with Cork. Thank you.
It's nice to see that the entire committee shows up. They take what they do very seriously, in spite of the volume of paper they get.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We move to our speakers. Elected officials and delegates, we have 4. I'll call all 4 names. James Gavrellos, Charmaine Postal, Connie Siskowski, and Justin Katz.
Good evening, Chairman Shaw, school board members, Dr. Fenoy, and everyone else in your respective places. Don't know where to start, but I'll start off with our local units. Our local units have been doing a phenomenal job. Our local PTA units, they've been doing a phenomenal job. Crystal Lakes Elementary had a big Veterans Day program and performance and a breakfast where the veterans had an opportunity to come to the school and share their past experiences and memories in the classroom with the students. So that was pretty impressive to see that they brought the veterans out and brought the community out for a wonderful Veterans Day program. Del Prado started a safety coalition, or the PTA helped the school start a safety coalition. So we're looking for good things to come out of Del Prado, and they also did a family fun literacy night, which unselfishly they shared the resources with J.C. Mitchell Elementary School, a sister school right next to them. Eagles Landing are doing great things, as well as Del Prado. Now, I will say this, PTA is primarily an advocacy group, but there are times that we have to, due to legislation budget cuts, we have to fundraise in order to meet the needs of our children. So it was very impressive to hear that Del Prado donated $12,500 to get LLI reading resources to meet the children's needs. So good kudos to them. Other things we're doing in the county, I just want to say I've heard referendum 100 times. I'm glad it's over. So, but do want to say special thanks to everyone who had a role in the referendum and who really went out in the community and connected with the community to ensure that they brought it to this conclusion and outcome. Another thing Palm Beach County is wrapping up is compliance. One thing that we do is we ensure that our local units are in compliance, and so that they're meeting the needs of our children, but in order. And so we keep them in order by ensuring that they're in compliance with the school district. They have the necessary 990s completed, and they have the necessary forms completed. Another thing that the county is doing is we're wrapping up on our 50 year of Reflections program. The Reflections program is a national PTA's reflection program that has helped students explore their own thoughts, their feelings, and ideas to develop artistic literacy and increase confidence and find a love for learning that will help them become more successful in school and in life. So each year, hundreds of thousands of students in pre-K through grade 12 create and submit original works of arts, and one or six categories. So as you have dance choreography, film, literature, music, photography, and visual arts, and it's for those PTAs who are participating, and that's a benefit of having a PTA at your school. So we hope that your schools will, if you have not joined the Reflections program, they can enroll in the Reflections program and do the Reflections program. And lastly, Florida PTA, what are we doing in Florida PTA? We're preparing for legislation session. We have National PTA LegCon in March, the 12th to the 14th in Washington, D.C. Florida PTA Legislative Conference, March 24th to the 26th. That is during Children's Week in Tallahassee. We will be going up there and advocating on behalf of our children, not only here in Palm Beach County, but throughout the district. And this past weekend, our advocacy and family community, our family engagement committees got together and started some plan of work to move forward. So I'm happy if you guys have any suggestions, the board, the school district of Palm Beach County, that we can take up to Florida to ensure that Palm Beach County School District and the students here needs are met. Please share those with me so that I can get them up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Siskowski.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity of being here. We are very thankful for our partnership and especially appreciative of Keith Oswald, who made it possible for our book, I'm a Teen Caregiver, Now What?, to be in all the schools that are still without our Caregiving Youth Project. So with your help, we have been able to begin the support of youth in Lake Worth Middle School, which is the 26th school of the Caregiving Youth Project. So our project was the first in our country, and it's now in its 12th year. We have served more than 1,500 students and their families, not just one time, but for an average of 5.46 years. Support is given to them in school, out of school, and at home, as well. And we have really made remarkable progress with some of the families that now have roofs that no longer leak. There's been mold remediation, broken appliances repaired, beds for the kids to sleep on, ramps to help disabled family members with access, and PERS units so that it decreases the worry of students while they're in school. We provided computers, in-home tutoring, respite, clean water, and the list could go on and on. All of these things reduce the external barriers to learning that these youth face daily. So our remarkable graduation rate is 97.7%. And about 85.6% of our students are on free and reduced lunch, and only about 16% are Caucasian. So we have participated in groundbreaking research with University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, and as a result, the first article globally has been published, and it reflects the challenges that about 28 of our caregiving youth face who give medications. We're also in the process of conducting a survey of pediatricians to raise awareness, and we're also looking at the impact of poverty on youth caregiving. One of our state senators has become our caregiving youth champion, and a U.S. representative in our country is introducing a bill to support teen caregivers. We're very excited that this spring, the 2019 YRBS will have a caregiving question, and so by this time next year, we should know better data on the prevalence. So the risk that the school district has taken with our organization to begin work in 2006 is having an impact not only here in Palm Beach County, but in a much wider area. So finally, I'd love to invite you to our Camp Treasure this weekend. They'll be filming a documentary on youth caregiving. We have our holiday celebration on December 16th, and it's a really special time for the kids and their families. And so if neither of these dates work, come to our third Caregiving Youth Institute conference on April 4th. So just as we are thankful for your support, we wish you the many blessings of Thanksgiving. And during this month of honoring all family caregivers, because it is National Family Caregivers Month, including those among the employees of the school district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gravelos.
As you'll hear in a moment, I know a thing or two about heroes, and if you want to meet a hero, folks, on your way out, say hello to Connie Siskowski. I've worked with her for years at Boca Helping Hands, and her work is amazing. A quick observation, I thank Dr. Fenoy and the members of the board. There were 3 themes that you touched on tonight: our veterans, Thanksgiving, and the vote. And that became rather real to me. I am the proud father of 2 in the military, one of whom is currently overseas, and he's deployed. And just before the vote, I talked to him and I said, "Did you vote?" The all-knowing father, and as only a 27-year-old could have that tone of voice with his dad, like he must be the biggest idiot in the world, he said, "Why do you think we're here?" And he said, "Dad, you have no idea what we do for a living, do you?" So thank you for mentioning the veterans, and again, a blessed Thanksgiving to all of you and to all who have served and will serve. Been a wild month for the Education Foundation. Last meeting, we were preparing for Tools for Schools. I can happily report that 99 of our 110 Title I schools actually showed up on October 20th. The remaining 11 have come since then. A huge thank you to Publix supermarkets who donated roughly $500,000 worth of school supplies to our Title I schools. We at the Education Foundation were proud to partner with the district. Dr. Fenoy, I want to personally cite Barbara Terembus and Janice Pickens, who were absolutely amazing to work with. So thank you to your staff and for helping the Ed Foundation distribute 110 pallets of school supplies out. Speaking of school supplies, Red Apple Supply Store has now expanded to 37 schools. We will be at 42 schools before the end of the year. As of today, there are roughly 22,932 students who are attending schools that are being served by the Red Apple Supply Store. So we're touching a lot of kids. In fact, in total, the Education Foundation has programs in schools that are touching roughly 92,992 students. So there's a lot of kids that are being affected by the programs that your support makes real. We had our Heroes in Education 5K road race just 2 weeks ago. Luckily, to my far right is Catherine Blumke, who makes the magic work behind the curtain. 800 district people, employees, teachers, and students came at 6 o'clock in the morning to run 5K. I wouldn't drive 5K at 6 o'clock in the morning to get donuts, but they did this. And happily, at our December Principals Leadership Academy, we will be passing out just under $5,000 in grants to the winning schools who participated. And so it was a very exciting day, not just for the Ed Foundation, but for the schools who won. My final point tonight is I'm going to give you a sneak peek. This isn't even ready yet. This is the new education license plate. TV, get a good shot of that, wherever you are, the camera. The new education license plate will be available in the coming weeks. You can get online at licensetolearnfl.com and reserve yours. School board, those who care about education, help us get the word out. There are roughly 1.5 million cars registered in Palm Beach County. If just 1% of those would get the Support Education license plate, roughly $200,000 a year would come to the Ed Foundation, and we are required by law to direct every dollar of that to teacher programs, to student achievement, to new creative, innovative ideas. If just 1% of the cars in Palm Beach County would get the brand new education license plate, ladies and gentlemen, we could rock the world of the students in the Palm Beach County School District. This is what we do. We are your Education Foundation, serving the needs of the schools, teachers, and students, and the finest school district in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Katz.
I like that license tag. I can actually order that.
Thank you. My name is Justin Katz. I'm the president of the Palm Beach County Classroom Teachers Association. To echo what everyone else has already said, first and foremost, I'm grateful for the voters and their support of the referendum. Second, I'm grateful that the process is over and that the uncertainty has been removed from the air and we can move forward. And now we know for sure that we are going to be able to sustain our arts programs, increase our security and mental health, as well as keep teachers in the classroom longer than they might have otherwise. I've spoken to a number of teachers who have flat out said if this had not passed, they would not be back next year. Many of them had kind of hit the wall as far as their financial outlook. And this dramatically changes that. So again, to the voters, thank you very much. Just to reflect on this and to give you a little bit more stat from the state, there were 20 different counties that proposed some form of tax increase relative to school security and teacher pay, whether it was a sales tax or a property millage like we just did. All 20 of them passed, and the combined yes vote for those 20 counties on those 20 referenda was over 2.1 million Floridians. It, to me, if anything, demonstrates the gross disconnect in the legislature that they can continue to defund or underfund our schools to push us to nearly the bottom of the country in per student funding, yet 2 million of their constituents throughout the state of Florida chose to voluntarily increase their taxes in order to make sure that the schools are properly funded. So, to the individuals in Tallahassee, you're there to do what your constituents would like you to do, and I think that this should be eye-opening, and I would hope it would force some people to change some of their habits up there. So moving on from the referendum, we are going to enter negotiations within a couple weeks after the holidays, so naturally that is an equally exciting endeavor. We look forward to it. I'll naturally be reaching out to each of you to express some of the many concerns that teachers have, and look forward to working with the district. I think that I would like to continue the collegial relationship that we've all experienced in the past couple months working on this referendum through negotiations. I think that we're always pointed in the same direction, district, the employees, but we often have different paths that we want to take to get to our destination. And it was nice to, through the referendum, have the same destination and have the same path and be able to march arm in arm with each other on that. So I look forward to the negotiations. It's likely that the negotiations for the current year will almost piggyback the negotiations for next year, so we will probably be in about 5 straight months of negotiations after the New Year's. But again, I think that if I learned anything from the past couple months and working with the district and many of my counterparts here, it's that, again, we say it all the time, we are on the same team, we all have the same goals, and if we work together and we compromise and when we focus, we can get things done in a positive manner. So I want to thank you all for that, and again, the opportunity to represent the teachers and to express their gratitude about everything that's going to happen in our schools as a result of this referendum. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. We now move to our agenda item speakers. I'll call 3 at a time. Please come up and make sure you give us your name. Izzy Parado, Paul Musser, Tanisha Shirley. Ms. Parado.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Good evening, Dr. Fenoy and board members. My name is Izzy Parado. I am a proud retired ex-school counselor, 37 years of service from Palm Beach County Schools. I'm also the board secretary of the American Association of Youth Caregivers and a youth advocate. I want to thank you very much for the relationship that we have built in the last 12 years and hope that it continues. We are struggling. We're a very small nonprofit, and through our relationship with Keith and Dr. Andrews, we hope that funding can be allocated to us, and if you have decided to give us some of your funding, we want to go to the north area. Dr. Robinson, we would like your cooperation, and we will be talking to you. We would like to go to the west area, where we're not. We have now 576 kids, 26 schools. We could do better. And Dr. Fenoy, I think it was you that we talked about the acts of kindness. I know that we're getting some funding from you. Thank you for that act of kindness. We will continue to service our students and our families. Whatever they need, whatever it takes, we will do it. But we appreciate your support. I bid you well during Thanksgiving holiday. We have a lot to be grateful for. We live in a great country I, being a foreigner at one time, know what it means to be free and to be loved and to be allowed to speak before you freely. Thank you for having us. Do not forget our youth caregivers. So let's continue the great relationship. Let's take it to the north end, and let's take it to the west area, please. Bless you all during this holiday season and everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Parado. Mr. Musser.
Thank you. My name is Paul Musser. I'm not here to plead or beg for my position. I was a math teacher at Atlantic High School, and I received a termination letter on the 25th of October, and I was informed that you were voting on it tonight, and that's why I'm here. I want to set the record straight. I'm not resigning. I have documentation right here, a whole notebook full of documentation of things that I have sent to my school and the school board to support my claim. That's direct evidence of surgeries that I've had and I've had to overcome. I am not ready to go back into the classroom at this time. I went back after my surgery in April, and in June I had a massive pulmonary embolism that almost killed me. I am not ready to be back in the classroom full time. I've explained that to everybody. I have documentation of doctors sending information to not only the school but the school board, and I received a termination notice on the 25th of October. The reason that we are here, the reason that I am being terminated, has everything to do with me blowing the whistle on Atlantic High School for not doing their job, and I'm talking about administrators for keeping the school safe. I brought that video to the school, and nobody saw it. There was no meeting. It was dismissed, out of hand. Because of that, I took that to Tallahassee, showed it to the people in Tallahassee. They got in touch with the school. The school principal threatened me in a phone call. That was in June, prior to my pulmonary embolism. So the reason I'm here is because I've been terminated and you're voting on it, and I wanted you to hear all of the story, not just part of the story. Seems I wore the right sweatshirt because of the theme of veterans. I am a veteran. I served in Desert Storm. I was in the Marine Corps as an officer for 13 years. I had final top secret clearance. My integrity was never in question. And it's being questioned now by clerks. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Shirley.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Fenoy. My name is Ms. Shirley. I am here to discuss a letter I received for suspension and termination. First, I'd like to apologize for any shame or embarrassment I imposed on the school district and the Department of Transportation. I am a professional bus driver. Sometime in March of this year, my supervisor requested my video to be pulled in reference to my performance of my pre- and post-trip inspection. At each facility, we have a file that keeps record of each bus that turns in a slip daily and checked by the Radio 2 driver's office staff. So if pre- and post-trip was the case, my supervisor could have retrieved the slip for that day in my file assigned to my bus. On 2 occasions, I watched the video surveillance with the rep. We both noticed neither videos never shown the pre- and post-trip inspections, but yet watched and shown from my first school to my last. Primarily, it was supposed to be about pre- and post-trip inspection. May I remind you, the day these charges was filed, there were no incidents, accidents, no parent called in to file a complaint because nothing happened on my route that day. No, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes along the way, but any disagreements or inputs my team leader may have stumbled upon in viewing my video could have been at least first verbally discussed with me and resolved at a lower administrative level. And final thought, I do feel that a punishment at this level of administration to be suspended and terminated is insufficient to the charges filed against me. I come to work every day and do what is expected of me, and that's drive my students to and from school in a safe, timely manner. My job is also the support system for my family as to my growing future. So I ask that you please give my disciplinary action more thought and reconsideration of suspension and termination of employment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carrie Alderman, Ekron Shirley, Tracy Brooks. Carrie Alderman.
Good afternoon, board members and Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. I'm here as a co-worker for Ms. Shirley, and Ms. Shirley and I have been working together for the past 2 years at East Facility, and I was also the rep that's done walked the mile of the way with her. And as she said, we viewed the video, and it was supposed to be containing the pre-trip and post-trip, the day that the video was pulled, and not for disciplinary action. Also, Ms. Shirley comes to work every day, and she does her job, because I go to work every day. And this is how I know that she be there. She has not been a problem or has not been in any type of trouble other than this allegation that we are here tonight for. And I come to give the support of her on her behalf. And coming up to the holidays, I noticed everybody talking about the holidays and having a happy Thanksgiving. Well, if Miss Shirley be terminated, I don't think it's going to be a happy Thanksgiving for her and her family. And I feel that this should be looked into a little more and thought before you all vote to terminate Miss Shirley.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Brooks. I'm a driver from out of East Facility. I'm here to speak on the behalf of Ms. Shirley. One thing I can say is Ms. Shirley come to work every day. She's helpful and generous. I feel Ms. Shirley could be at a level of administration action. It's like, also, you know, I don't know. To me, it's like, you know, she shouldn't, like, you know, shouldn't have to lose her job over this. It should be handled at a, you know, much lesser administrative level. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ekron Shirley. I'm here to speak on the behalf of Mrs. Shirley. And as far as I'm concerned, and I heard there's a lot of stuff that goes on that don't happen and don't report it, you know, with other workers. And Mrs. Shirley, she go to work, she come to work, she love the kids, she love her job, and this should never, ever come to this far. You know, I'm with the company for about 20 years, and I know her for maybe around 6, going 7 years, and we get along, and I know she come to work and she do her job, and in the workplace, it shouldn't be personal. Some things that happen shouldn't be personal, and that's how far they take it, personal. And if somebody or two people do something, violate the company rules, one are promoted to be a driver, and the other one is up to fired. I don't think it's very justice in that. So I'm asking that you guys look into it more and see where this thing goes wrong and see what you can do. It's holiday and nobody want to lose their job. You know, especially it's very hard to get a job. It's hard to, as two people, to make ends meet, much less if one person get fired in the holiday. That's not a good thing. And everybody up there, I know you have a family, and it's been very hard. I know We go by rules. It's a school board, it's kids, and all the evidence or whatever they produce it's be hard for someone to hear, okay, you terminated. So all I'm asking, think about it, look it over, and do the right thing, please.
Thank you very much. Our next two speakers are Catherine Montz and LaToya Walker.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Mrs. Shirley. I'm really upset at how she ended up here. This was all going on when, about a week ago, my senior coordinator authorized a driver to take a white fleet vehicle, go to Riviera Beach, pick this attendant up, and then drop her children off at a daycare. White fleet. Children are allowed in white fleet vehicles. This happened. Miss Shirley's incident was already going on when this happened. That driver is still driving. Oh, he was able to clock in early, too, to get overtime. The driver is still driving, and the senior coordinator is still working. What Miss Shirley did was a pre-trip slip. Here's my Miss Pre-Trip slip. It's scribbled on a piece of paper, put on my card by we don't know who because they didn't sign it. I had to go investigate who it was. We have a serious problem at East. We do. Real serious. The favoritism is off the charts. She in no way should be here wasting our time tonight, because she did not do anything any of us haven't done as drivers. I dropped my attendant off at McDonald's. I had children on the bus. When we have to go, we have to go. So we're going to get her fired for that? So let's pull all the drivers' cameras. You wouldn't have drivers. You'd have to go hire outside people to take over, because you'll find a whole lot of, we're on that bus 8 hours. We've asked for help, Mr. Fenoy, Doctor. We've asked for help. And I've even emailed you and asked you why I have to go to the top of the chain of command for the dumbest things. I've had many emailed to you, begging you. Why do I have to? Because we don't have management. We have none. And for you to go and fire this woman is so wrong when you have senior coordinators. But my team leader, my husband had kidney cancer, and because I got in a little spat with her, because I can show you some emails where I got her, she has spite. And she denied me 2 sick days. I don't ever take off.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Walker.
Good evening, board. I guess everyone's pretty much said all that needs to be said for Mrs. Shirley. I feel that we work for a phenomenal company. I feel that sometimes, though, people forget that they started out as a little person, too. We all have flaws. We've all messed up. No one in this room has gotten in their position without messing up somewhere. You have to fall to get back up. The situation with Mrs. Shirley is crazy. We have so many that, well, I'm not at East Compound anymore because I'm a driver now. Mrs. Shirley, I was her attendant, and And she's the person that influenced me to go and take the CDL test. And I kept telling her, I don't even know what a serpentine belt is and all those different parts that we had to learn, but I learned it and I passed that test. I love the company I work for, but it often makes me angry because the people with the power in different positions misuse it. It's almost like the bad guys get promoted and the good guys that show up every day, clock in on time, get done wrong. I love my job. Mrs. Shirley loves her job. All of us that have spoken here tonight, we all love our job, but we really need some changes to be made. Things need to happen. There needs to be someone that comes in and kind of like investigates and finds out the little things that they try to cover up. They cover each other, but who's going to help us when we're in trouble? When we're in trouble, this is where we end up. We have no one to go to. There's always steps that we have to take, but if you take one of those steps and that person in that position is that other person's friend, nothing happens for you. You end up getting almost written up again because that person told that person that you went over their head. We take the steps and we do what's right, and yet we still don't get results. So I ask you tonight, board, not only to allow Mrs. Shirley to keep her job, and not just because it's the holidays, everybody needs their job, but because she works for a great company, we work for a great company, but with your help, we can be better than what we are at every compound. We need help at every compound. I'm at Royal Palm now, and I absolutely love it. It's so much different from East Compound. But I love my job. It's obvious you all love your job. You all love your job. But we, the smaller people, need your help to help us get to the other positions. All of us don't want to drive all of our lives. And I thank you all for listening. Have a happy holiday to everyone.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any other items anybody wants to pull? Mrs. Brill?
I believe Mrs. Bass pulled it for me, but I'm pulling P1, the personnel agenda.
P1. All right. Dr. Robinson?
And PS2.
PS2. Any other items? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Mr. Barbieri. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0, so we will move to new business, and I think, and you need to refresh your computers. All right, the BRD1 was the item we've already dealt with. Mrs. Bass, which is the next one? Mine didn't change. CI6, ChildNet, Dr. Fenoy. No.
CI6, I recommend the board approve the data sharing agreement with ChildNet effective December the 13th, 2018 through December 31st, 2021, and authorize the superintendent or designee to sign all documents and contracts related to the agreement.
Is there a motion by Mr. Barbieri, second by Mrs. Brill? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Next item.
Yes, COM5. I recommend the board proclaim November 10th through the 18th, 2018 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Andrews. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? COM6.
COM6, I recommend the board proclaim November 12th through the 16th, 2018 as School Psychology Awareness Week.
Motion by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Mrs. Andrews. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Next item, FC6.
FC6, I recommend the board approve a waiver of the chairperson term limit for the Construction Oversight and Review Committee.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Mr. Barbieri. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next item, FMPF1.
FMPF1, I recommend the board receive and accept monthly contract and disbursement report as submitted.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mr. Barbieri. Dr. Robinson.
Okay, no, you could call the question. I was just trying to disrupt Mr. Burke, who now believes that I will pull it and vote against it every time. So,
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Dr. Robinson voting against. Next item is P1.
P1, I recommend the board approve the personnel agenda as submitted.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Dr. Robinson. Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. So and I don't know procedurally how we do this, but when the personnel agenda comes to us, we do not see names of people involved. We don't know the stories of the people involved. I do have to say that after listening to our speaker tonight, I'm not comfortable including him in this vote to support this item, and I don't know if procedurally there's a way for us to remove him from this vote for tonight until we can get further information.
Ms. Rico.
Okay, well, I don't know what Mr. Musser's number is because he's not represented. So there's no way for me to know other than to just identify him by his name. If I can do that, okay. Well, then I move that we remove Paul Musser from the personnel agenda for action tonight.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Andrews. Discussion. I think it's important, I'm not sure that the information that we got tonight was accurate. I understand there was a whole different situation on this case that had nothing to do with what was talked about tonight. So I would hope that we have the accurate information. Ms. Rico.
Thank you. Just procedurally, I would recommend that that the motion take the form of an amendment to the item and in removing. So you can just...
Let the record show it'll be an amendment to the motion. Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up, I'm not saying anything in support or against, but I just feel that I would like to have more information.
Yeah, well, so the staff will just have to figure out a mechanism to get to the board member to get them the information.
All right, because the motion is to take it off the agenda, but not to take action on it, is just remove it from the agenda tonight. Ms. Whitfield. Ms. Whitfield.
I was just going to say I had similar concerns, but I have since heard from staff during this time just sitting up here and texting. So I feel more comfortable now understanding what's gone on, but I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about that here publicly or if we should have a closed
Ms. Rico and then Mrs. Andrews.
Thank you. So I'll take the last question first, which is the open discussion of a matter that could likely result in litigation, as well as come back to the board for a final decision in your quasi-judicial capacity. So I would recommend not discussing the facts and details in open public meeting. And secondly, with respect to the current motion on the table, I would also recommend that we identify a time certain to bring it back or some period of time to bring it back so it's not open-ended. Thank you.
Any other, Mrs. Brill?
Thank you. I will make I will amend the amendment to bring this item back time certain for our next board meeting.
All right, we have an amendment to give the time certain of December 5th. Is there a second to the amendment? Mrs. Andrews. Mrs. Andrews, I think you had a question.
Yes, and I think legal has covered it because I would like to see the documents. I would certainly not want to be discussing it up here. I'd like to read it and decide for myself at the next time.
All right, any other discussion? If not, Dr. Robinson?
So just so that I'm clear, this gentleman is listed under separation of employment as opposed to termination, correct? Okay. And so I would just request on a go-forward basis that because I know staff must have known that this concern would come forward, that we hear that before the meeting. Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing that, we'll call the question. The First Amendment is to have this item put on the December 5th agenda. Is all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-2 with Mrs. McQuinn and Mr. Shaw voting against. The amendment is now to have it heard on the 5th and have this item withdrawn from the agenda tonight. All in favor?
Wait, Mr. Shaw, I'd like to vote against the first motion as well, if I could have that in the record.
So let the record show the vote there was 4-3 with Mr. Shaw, Mrs. McQuinn, Mrs. Whitfield voting against. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-3 again with Mr. Shaw, Mrs. McQuinn, and Mrs. Whitfield voting against it. So now on the motion as amended, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-3 with the same 3 voting against. Next item, and as we get ready for the next item, since we're on a personnel, we recognize families of employees who passed away during recently before board meetings. We'd like to recognize the family of Ashley Price, who was an ESE hearing impaired teacher in the special education department. She was born in 1966 and passed away in 2018. So at this time, if we could take a moment of silence in remembrance of her. Thank you very much. Our next item is P2, job description. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, sir. P2, I recommend the board approve the job descriptions as submitted.
Is there a motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is PA1. P3, rather.
I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Mrs. McQuinn. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. PA1.
PA1. I recommend the board accept and approve the school improvement plans developed by each school with assistance from the School Advisory Council and accept the submission of each school's SAC membership list and bylaws.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. McQuinn, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. I have several questions. So, I sent in some questions. I guess maybe my questions weren't clear. Certainly the answers were not. And so I want to start off with saying that, I realize that this agenda item contains not only the school improvement plans that we could look up on the state's website, but also the checklist, the school improvement plan checklist, correct? The problem is that the school improvement plan checklist contains some items that I think are very important, and I remember fighting for them to be included, but I can't see them anywhere. And so in answer to my question about monitoring the school improvement plan, I come up with another question. So who monitors the schools that develop their own monitoring plan?
So in monitoring the school improvement plan, so the plan itself first, I think the process is developed through the School Advisory Council. As that's developed, there's a process that's built into school advisory councils that they're continuously monitoring, going back to their school improvement plan, that they are doing what they said they are doing. As far as once it's adopted in the beginning, the checklist that that you're referring to, Form 2248, is rolled up to the regional office, so if there's a structural superintendent that supervises that school, they'll sign off, as well as the regional superintendent, to follow up and monitor in their coaching and their school visits that the school improvement plan is being implemented as is stated. Or if there's changes, then you would go back to your school advisory council and amend accordingly.
Mr. Shaw, may I follow up?
Dr. Robinson.
So, so in answer to my question, the school devises its plan to monitor its school improvement plan, but who monitors to see if they're monitoring the school improvement plan? So who outside of the school is looking?
The principal supervisor.
Okay, so I don't know. I think that there's a lack of accountability there. I'm not going to propose a solution at this point, but I think there's a lack of accountability. The next thing is, in response to one of my questions, the answer was something to the effect of the school improvement plan can change over time. But when the school improvement plan changes, does that come before the board, or just the initial draft of the school improvement plan comes to the board?
Just the initial. There's a deadline to the state, so the initial school improvement plan comes to the board. The other required activity is a mid-year reflection. We typically do that after our diagnostic data, but the plan's not locked. Schools have the flexibility if they're making a change in strategy or one of their action steps, or staff who are going to monitor something, they can update it along the way. Sometimes when they put those updates into the system, I think the PDF that you have access to requires district staff to update so that PDF version is updated. And that's somebody from my team.
The PDF version of what?
When you go to SIMS and you view one of the school improvement plans, it's a PDF format.
Okay.
So if they're making changes in the system, then it has to be published into the PDF format that you're seeing, and that's another step that occurs.
Okay, but there's no accountability, there's no repercussions if the school does not do what's in its own plan, other than maybe the principal supervisor slapping the hand of the principal. This is what I'm hearing. Tell me, because I really had expected that the school improvement plans had more power than because they're pieces of paper that could sit and collect dust is what I'm inferring.
And so it is a continuous improvement process. We can, again, go back to our regionals instructionals and put in some other protocols and some processes to ensure that we're tighter on those components, that the school improvement plan is being monitored more closely.
Just two more. Where can I find the school improvement plan checklist for schools? What's their response to that form? Where do I find it?
I can provide those. It's an internal form, so my office keeps a record of that when it's been routed and it's complete, and we can certainly provide copies of those to the board.
Okay. And so, as you know, that school improvement plan checklist includes specific boxes to check off regarding issues relative to infusion,
yes, ma'am.
not only of African and African American, but other areas that are outlined in state law.
Yes,
right? And so, twofold is, one, I would request for consideration, Dr. Fenoy, that every principal and assistant principal maybe at a general meeting has a presentation on the importance of infusion and the importance of children and their teachers understanding their history and where they come from and how that will positively impact academic achievement. And then the other thing is that we make it as a matter of routine that the responses to the school improvement plan checklist is shared with the board in whatever fashion. Okay. Because, I mean, I just had more hope for the school improvement plans. And I mean, I know many people that have gone through training to be part of SACS who really felt that their contribution to the school improvement plan was really, really helping children, and unfortunately, It could, but it might not. It might just collect dust, and that troubles me. So, all right.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is PS2. Dr. Fenoy.
PS2, I recommend the board approve Tanisha Shirley's termination of employment effective Thursday, December 13th, 18, subject only to appeal under Section 120.569, FS Section 120.57, FS and the SEIU FPSU Collective Bargaining Agreement, Article 17, Section 8.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second. Second by Mrs. McQuinn. Discussion, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. So, actually, I must say that I was really moved by the number of bus drivers who would come here and vouch for their coworker after working all day, and say such great things. I read the documents almost in isolation, and I must say that what I heard that the video showed is different than what our documents say the video showed. So, and shame on me because I didn't go look at the video. And so this is somebody who comes to work regularly. I didn't see anything, as I recall, about attendance being a problem. The co-workers vouched for her coming to work every day and, in fact, loving her job. And so at the appropriate time, I'm going to make a motion to table this to give each of us a chance to see the video, to resolve this issue about what the video showed, because it's vastly different in our documents versus what we were told.
Any other discussion? Just a comment. I think I would support the motion to table only because I think everybody needs to see it, because the information we were told tonight is absolutely not consistent with the reason for the termination. There were 3 years of disciplinary actions and everything. So if that's something the board wants to do, I understand, but I think just because we hear it up here does not mean it's at all accurate. Mm-hmm. So any other comments, Mr. Rico?
Just to ditto my earlier comments on the other pending matter concerning discussion of the specifics. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Dr. Robinson?
And I just want to make note that I bit my tongue because of that. Okay, and so having said that, I move to have this tabled until December 5th.
Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by Mrs. Brill. So on a motion to table, there's no discussion, so all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-2 with Mr. Shaw and Mrs. McQuinn voting. Please be aware, all we did on this is to table this item. This was postponed. There was no action that changed it. So that concludes our agenda. Before we have a motion to adjourn, I need to make one.
No, you got the.
Oh, non-agenda speakers. Sorry. Wow, I was way ahead of myself. Okay. I'll call 3 at a time. I saw end and forgot the speaker part of this. Carl Mohammed, Zachary Pike, Brenda Beckton.
Shut down those mics.
Mr. Mohammed.
Good evening, team players. I just wanted to remind Dr. Fenoy, for a long time, at least for about 10 years, we were professing that Palm Beach County was an A-rated school, and at the same time, we was only graduating 22% of the African-American male children, and we have a major problem. And this past weekend, we had one of the most healthiest opportunities for educators that was performed this past weekend down at the Spady Museum and at the Atlantic High School. And I think we missed an opportunity to really connect. But I'm hoping that as I listen to Dr. Robinson give her spiel, I'm hoping that Ms. Whitfield, you, Ms. Brill, and Ms. McQuinn, and Ms. Andrews, and you, Mr. Shaw, and Mr. Barrera, you see the importance of that workshop, because I don't think that you can carry it further to your principals until you have a comprehensive knowledge of it yourself. And I'm hoping that when we do have this workshop, that we would invite Dr. Coggin, who was one of the individuals that helped us to start this process here in Palm Beach County. And we had Tony Hill, the Florida Department of Education. He was here this weekend. And we connected with Broward County. They brought about 40 educators from Broward, and all of us had a wonderful time. But when we look at accountability, I'm hoping that we would really look at the voices that we never hear from. Y'all know that what I'm saying is really true. It's an unfunded mandate, and it's the most important thing inside of education right now, and no one still has the strength, evidently, to engage in that kind of conversation. But I do see something that happened during this election cycle that I'm hoping that possibly you might be able to take a look at. I've seen Oprah Winfrey and I've seen Michelle Obama out on the campaign trail. I'm hoping that possibly we might be able to draft a letter or something to those individuals, since they have a lot of influence here in the United States, and possibly get some kind of attention drawn to the Florida Statute 1003.42, because it doesn't appear that we have the ability to do it ourselves. We've been working on this now. This would be the 25th annual Summer Institute coming up this year, and I guarantee you, if you go into any school, your teachers don't even know that this law even exists. But for African American children, we can't go into a healthy environment as long as we get an improper education. And we can see the spill of this safety need inside of our community, because we here in Palm Beach County, we're up to 25 deaths this month. And they're looking at possibly superseding that, because we got a couple more weeks. But I'm asking you, because it's your responsibility, and as we look at the word equity, hopefully you would take some interest in really developing that workshop, and we have some good tools that we can help you to better understand. And I know for a fact, as watching things from this week, Palm Beach County is still leading, but we need those of you who are up on the drum major stage, we need y'all to be more informed, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pike.
Good evening, Dr. Fenoy and school board members. My name is Zachary Pike, and I live in Boynton Beach, Florida. I graduated from Palm Beach Central High School in 2015, 1 year before the New Diploma Initiative. I was in the ESC program throughout my entire school career and successfully completed my coursework in grades 9 through 12. I also completed all my community service hours and was nominated and was an honor graduate in the Culinary Academy. Not only that, but I also held offices in the Children of the American Revolution, was a member of the Best Buddies, and active in my school's ASD program. My grades were in the top half of my graduating class, and I completed all my required coursework and more. Given those facts, I am requesting a reissued diploma, what I call a regular diploma, so I can pursue a college education. Thank you for your time and your cooperation.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Bracken.
I just need a minute. I'm so proud right now. They started my time. They're going to have to start it over. Dr. Fenoy and board members, my name is Brenda Brecken, and I teach at Park Vista Community High School, and I'm a veteran master teacher of more than 15 years, 10 at Park Vista. My first career is as a journalist, and today I continue my writing as a small in-house agency where I advocate community concerns and I write for those causes. Today my cause is my son. I come to you in order to right a wrong. In the past 2 years, the school district has switched a horse in midstream, and by changing the ways the ESE and 504 diplomas are written. This was a good legal move because the former document left the board open for suits of discrimination, in my opinion. However, there are students who were not grandfathered into the newer document and still are not able to articulate to the local post-secondary institutions as their peers can. And this is due to the wording of the previous document. My son Zachary is one of these. As an educator, I find this disingenuous, and the school board relegates students who would like to strive to achieve via a document which prevents them from doing so. You have done this to my son, and I would like you to reissue his diploma, please. Zachary successfully completed his secondary education at Palm Beach Central High School, taking all mandated courses, and graduated at the top half of his class. He successfully completed 4 years in the Culinary Academy program. He was chosen to be on the homecoming court in his senior year. He was an inaugural member of the Best Buddies program and was active academically and socially. He was a successful high school student. His diploma has one phrase which bars students from the agreed-upon articulation from a Palm Beach County school to the Palm Beach County College. Therefore, Zachary has not been able to meet his one dream, to take a few basic introductory courses at our local college. The previously issued diploma was a legal noose around the county's neck because, in my opinion, it is highly discriminatory. Due to the facts that I have outlined, please reissue Zachary's diploma, thus eliminating the wording so that Zachary can attend a few basic classes at our local college. Again, students who were issued this document should be able to request a renewed or correct document so they might continue learning if it's their choice. It's about fairness, accessibility, and discriminatory past practices. In Palm Beach County, we encourage best practices. Please make it so. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask Dr. Fenoy, because there was actually, this was a topic that was discussed at a meeting I was in Orlando yesterday. And since this has statutory implication and a lot of other things, I would appreciate it if staff would get back to the board some information so we understand this issue. Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. Just as a point of personal privilege, this situation is a reflection of what we went through with the special diplomas in the past, and it's very unfortunate. I think that we need to have a discussion amongst the board on how we communicate to parents when the children are placed on a particular path. And even though Zachary has graduated, I would hope that staff can speak with the family to explain to them how he can obtain a regular diploma through the GED program so that he can continue. And I just want to say how proud I also am to have you here speaking to us today. Thank you.
So I will say, so on both fronts, so definitely staff will get with you. Matter of fact, the deputy superintendent and his team are right behind you, and we will bring forward information to the board around what we can do as a district to make sure that parents understand all of these realities and what we can do as a system to support them.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker, Clinton Gordon, Matthew Perrell, Rebecca Slade. Mr. Gordon.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I am the proud father of a student at Lake Worth High School community, and he is a 3.7 student athlete. I take great pride in my students' academic success. I am a voting member of the SAC committee at Lake Worth High School. I'm involved. I come here, and before I begin, I would like to commend all the teachers and staff at Lake Worth High School for raising the grade of the school from the D to a C school. I'm not here to attack Lake Worth Community High School in any way, shape, or form. I am here to bring attention to the fact that we have a program called AICE at Lake Worth High School. This is a college-level program with college-level classes and college-level grading system. We have students that are going into this program from 8th grade, and I think that it's very important for us as a community and as a school to provide these students with opportunities after school to have tutoring, mandatory. At this moment, We have a lot of tutoring opportunities for other students at Lake Worth High School, such as ESOL programs, such as regular math, regular English, regular algebra. But I feel that there's a whole lot of kids that are being overlooked that are in the AICE program. Tutoring is not only important for the students to keep their grade point average in this program while they pursue their careers or what their dreams are, but there is also a Cambridge exam at the end of the course. Now, students are able to pass the class, do well in the class, fail the Cambridge exam, and not receive a diploma. My concern is, while students are pursuing this, they are accepting the challenge of college-level courses, their grade point averages could suffer if they are not allowed the opportunity to go to tutoring after school. You know, because if they do accept the challenge of the AICE program, and they do accept the challenge of the college level of grading, they need to have the opportunity to have a college level understanding of the course. You know, I'm just here to say that, you know, I have personally spoken to children at Lake Worth High School who are in the AICE program. They do find it extremely difficult just for the course, and I would appreciate it if this board would consider special consideration of what is mandated in Palm Beach County, because the school informed me that we cannot force a teacher to stay to tutor, but I do believe that we could force the school to provide tutoring for students that are in programs like this. We are a Title I school, we have Title I money, and I believe if we can't find teachers in the school to tutor our children, we need to look outside to find tutors.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell.
Respected board members, superintendent, and attendees. My name is Matthew Perel, and my son is a senior at Suncoast High School. As of now, he has 50 high school credits, and his cumulative GPA is 5.515. Even with this extremely high GPA, he is not ranked 1 in the class. Here is the reason. A student who may have taken fewer than 30 high school credit class can be ranked 1. The problem is the way our ranking system treats transcripts from private schools or any non-Palm Beach County district schools. All you need to do is submit a transcript from a private school that only supplies pass or fail grades and get it validated at the receiving Palm Beach County public school. At that point, the student is predestined to be ranked 1, and all it takes for this student is to just maintain the minimum required class already provided at the school, as opposed to the rest of the top 10 kids who pack their schedules through FLVS AP classes and dual enrollment. Here the policy failed and procedure didn't work for the hardworking kids. Students like this are getting an unfair advantage. When you apply for a college, they don't ask for valedictorian or salutatorian, but they do ask for class rank. Therefore, we are giving the colleges an inaccurate representation of the student body. This is not a mistake or an oversight. This is occurring across the district and too often. As a citizen and school board, we must act when many of our hardworking, low-paying kids with high morale and integrity are not treated fairly. Now there is a financial aspect to this as well. When kids try hard to get the rank 1, they take every FLVS and dual enrollment. I would like to point out these classes are tax-funded, and dual enrollment classes cost $1,000 to $1,500 per class. Maximum they can use at any state university is 60 credits. So many of these credits will be completely ignored by universities. There is also abuse. Many financially advantaged kids pay and take AP class in private centers and bring the transcript to school to get ahead. To fix the problem, I have a few recommendations. First, if a student matriculates to a high school with a pass-fail, it must be validated by an outside entity and charge the student associated cost. Second, cap the tax-funded dual enrollment and FLVS class to a maximum 60 college credits. Third, not many people knows about meritorious rank or valedictorian. So make your high school transcript display ranks only classes taken during 9 to 12 grade. I would like to close with a special thanks to Principal Wetzel and Ms. Vivar for investigating and finding the facts. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Rebecca Slade, Gary Minton, E.G. Harvin, John Michael Polino.
adjourn. Good evening. I missed the first of the meeting, but I can almost guarantee how it went. 6 board members said how everything was going great in their district, and Dr. Robinson gave us Black history. Well, I'm going to put $50 on Dr. Robinson because I like what she does. So I'm going to give you 2 quotes. The time is always right to do the right thing. The second one, we are faced with the fact tomorrow is today. Not tomorrow, but today. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I may have taken them out of context, but they fit so good right here where we're at. You've forgotten what the future will bring. 20 years ago, you were told you'd be running short, and guess what? You're short of people. Moore's retiring in January. You're going to be under 200 employees because you're not hiring. Over 50 vacancies. So to keep that in mind, I would ask that you look at your resumes and the job descriptions of director down to FMCs, because it's been brought up before and nothing else but said, if the qualifications meet the resumes, and if the resumes are up to date, because any resume shouldn't leave 4 or 5 years, the last 5 years of a person's life off their job description, off their resume. If you just do that. I would also like to advise maybe that local vendors be allowed to bid on the chillers should you decide to replace them. This would save the district hundreds of thousands of dollars, because if you buy direct from the factory, chances are that vendor already has a good price. But the factory, when something goes wrong, will hire a local vendor at a profit, and the vendor will charge at a profit. So now you're looking at more money to get the same guy to do the job. You know, I'm not highly educated, but I'm not educated over my intelligence either. So this I would ask you to do. And also I had a call into Mr. Barberi and Miss Wanda Paul. I just, you know, a simple return call to say I don't want to talk to you, it'd be good, but I didn't hear anything from either one. So, you know, just a chance, if you have 2 or 3 minutes before the next board meeting, I'd like to talk to discuss several things. And today, if y'all remember the elephant in the room way back when, today is Dr. Art Johnson's birthday. I don't know whether you knew it or even cared, but he was a great superintendent. For those, a snicker or a smile, at least that works something. I wish all of y'all a very happy Thanksgiving coming up. God bless you all. I'm going to try to be nicer this next year. And I'll just give you a couple things to think about. Good night. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. Mr. Harvin.
Well, I'd first like to thank you, Mr. Shaw, and all of you board members for the opportunity to speak just for a few minutes. And the first thing I want to say is this is not about me. I will tell you, though, that Barbara, the chair of the Academic Advisory Committee, is extremely excited about what you're going to hear. And you're going to be hearing from her and her entire committee. Again, this is what I'm going to say is coming from hundreds, if not thousands, of parents, teachers, principals around this county and other places in this state. I am the author of a book titled Traits. I've got some Traits books here and posters, and I wanted to give all of you board members one of the books and one of the posters. And again, it's not about me. This is coming from teachers. I've had teachers, like for an example, I'll just give you an example. Independence Middle School, for the last 2 years, has been teaching it to all 1,400 of their students. There's one of these posters hanging in every classroom. Again, it's not about me, but this is coming from principals and teachers and so forth. There is not a book in this country that can prepare kids not only for the workplace, but for life in general, like what it is here. My teacher's guide is a free download from the website, okay? And there's a YouTube video connected with every trait. There's 8 traits in each chapter. It's nothing that students get graded on at all. It's all about identifying traits in our lives that we need to work on and moving it in a positive direction, okay? That's about all I need to say. When you read this book, you will form your own decisions, okay? But I'm just going to tell you, I've given away over 3,000 books, and I've never gotten one negative comment back, all right? If you want to, I'm going to tell you something. We can work together, and we can make this school district, I'll guarantee you, a role model for the entire nation. Okay? That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Christopher Knight, Susan Bickle, Sarah Charisma.
Sir, if you bring the box over here. Sir.
Harvin.
Bring it over.
Mr. Harvin. Thank you. Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight.
You would like me to go, yeah? All right, sir. Good evening. My name is Chris Knight. I wish to see my son in the classroom, and because of it, I've had to make over 97 phone calls in 2 months to all of you and your subordinates. I have at least 14 notifications of complaints regarding gender discrimination, cultural discrimination that I've had to endure, and the unnecessary use of police without justification against me. Notification to people include Erica Whitfield, Jeff Pegg, Ian Saltzman, Laura Green, Keith Oswald, Chuck Shaw, and Superintendent Donald Fenoy, to which Chuck Shaw and Donald Fenoy were sent copies on September 19th on Inspector General Complaint Correspondence 090041 from Director of Investigations Edward Rawls, and I have yet to hear anything back. Now, the latest phone call was with Keith Oswald, who seemed upset that I'd contacted his office, was unaware of the emails, the OIG complaint, unaware of where I was even from, but still explained to me that I have not experienced cultural discrimination and that Jeff Pegg's response to me on October 1 stands. He explained to me that Donald Fenoy will not return my phone calls. Jeff Pegg responded to me in a mail correspondence on October 1 that did not address any of the issues, but alleged that during my one and only observation period on September 7th that I engaged with students and teachers. That allegation was written over 3 weeks after the observation day and only after I filed a gender discrimination complaint with the IG, the Office of Civil Rights, the Boynton Beach Police, and emails sent to Senator Berman and Congresswoman Lois Franco. The fact that I have email correspondence sent to me by the teacher thanking me for being a part of my son's education on that day of observation makes that allegation by Jeff Pegg preposterous. There are no incident reports, no complaints, no emails or letters written to me by anyone that supports any kind of negative behavior on my part. But so for the school policies I mentioned last month, School Policy 1.015 literally quotes, incorporate the requirement under the No Child Left Behind Act, Section 1118. That act is also known as Title 20 U.S. Code, Section 6318, and specifically in Section 6318, reference Delta 2 Charlie, it literally quotes, address the importance of communication between parents and teachers, at a minimum, reasonable access to staff and observation of classroom activities. Now, Board Policy 2.06 states, parental observation in the classroom is not permitted. There's a conundrum. Now, as far as the discrimination complaints and the Jeff Pegg's response to the 14
Mr. Knight, please don't use individuals' names.
Board Policy 3.02. Do not waste my time, please, sir. Board Policy 3.02, Code of Ethics, Section 2, states that all employees shall support the principles of due process to protect civil and human rights. Now, this is a packet that I put together and made 20 copies of, 20 of them, with every single email, every single police complaint, the IG complaint, and every single call logs that I've made to you. And yet I have not heard anything from any one of you, to including the IG, sir, and from you, madam, from you, sir, and from you, Dr. Fenoy. I wonder why, because it is now October 14th, and this started 2.5 months ago. It seems that none of you care, essentially.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Bickle.
My name is Susan Bickle. I wear a lot of hats in my life, but one of which is teacher of 25 years. But I'm here as a parent, which is, of course, my most important job. I do want to take a moment, assuming my technology works, to do a brief musical interlude, which will actually help illustrate my point. Hopefully you have a handout that I passed out at the beginning with some numbers on it regarding the orchestra program in our community. So we're going to pretend my technology works, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to tell you how wonderful it really was. Can you hear this?
Yes.
So that was videotaped, recorded 3 weeks ago at our Palm Beach County Orchestra all-county event. Those were middle schoolers. Those were 12 and 13-year-olds playing that amazing music. What I'm here to talk about is the fact that within the next year, only 20% of those middle schoolers will be allowed to pursue a musical career in high school. And I find that very problematic. If you take a look at the numbers on the handout that I hope you have in front of you, you'll see some natural attrition. We have, I think if I counted correctly, 7 elementary schools offering strings programs. We have 4 middle schools offering strings programs and 3 high schools offering strings programs. But functionally, we really have 1 high school that offers a strings program, which is Dreyfus. The Jupiter High School program, there's no path to unless you happen to live in the Jupiter district. So we can take those numbers out. The same would be true of John I. Leonard. So of 105 Dreyfus string students, it makes about 25 freshmen. If you take the middle school numbers of 375, that's about 125 8th graders. 25 out of 125 kids will be allowed to continue their musical career next year. I have no issues with Dreyfus being a magnet model school. Their music is wonderful. But what about the rest of those 100 kids who are playing strings an hour and a half every day in their classroom like my daughter is? It's not acceptable to tell a 13-year-old that their dream is done. When you've given them the hope that they continue with that dream until they're age 13, you say, oh, you're done? I don't think that that's an acceptable thing to do to our children. The strings programs are wonderful. I would like to point out that a student who's not accepted to Dreyfus for band or vocal has other choices. The majority of our high schools offer band and orchestra programs. There are not strings programs that offer the same path for children who don't happen to be one of those 25 kids who makes it into Dreyfus. Thank you for your time. I hope you'll consider adding more strings programs for our high school students.
Thank you very much. Ms. Charisma.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Charisma, and I'm here to exercise the freedom of speech in order to defend the dignity of our profession and the education of our children. As you may know, yesterday we teachers got our evaluation for the year 17-18. On the packet that you have on page 1 shows how the biology VAM score or a student's performance is calculated on prior EOZ reading assessment and the biology EOZ exam. Just to clarify that there is no EOZ reading assessment, but FSA ELA reading. On the second page, you can see my evaluation, but especially the needs improvement on the student's growth, which is 33% of the teacher's evaluation. On the third page, you can see a chart with biology 34 students, a 3 effective, and you can see also a non-FSA ELA 28 students, 1 unsatisfactory. At the end you see the needs improvement. On page 4, the results of my students on EOC biology exam, where you can see that 100% of my students within the 200s move up to the 300s, and in many cases, the students' growth was more than 100 points over the pre-scale score, and my evaluation was effective. On the next page, you can see the results for this year, FSA LA reading, for the same students on the previous page, in which only 5 students met the expected score for that reading test. And due to these results of my ESOL students in English, which is a subject that I don't teach, and are the results of another teacher, is that I got needs improvement. So are we calculating the VAM score based on the previous FSA LA English and compare it with the EOZ biology exam? Or is it based on how my students did on this year English exam with another teacher? Why am I being evaluated based on expected results in English and not on the students' growth? With all my respect, members of the school board, it seems that there is no relation what is on the paper on page 1 to the way that we are actually being evaluated on the VAM score, which I understand is based on previous tests, 2 years data, and based on students' growth. Am I correct? School board member, with all my respect, is there any way we can have a detailed description of the exams used by the district to calculate the VAM scores this year? Because it seems that they are not using the previous year's results to compare the students' growth, but instead they are using, in many cases, this year FSA ELA reading score and their respective expected score, and not what is stated on page 1 and approved by the evaluation committee, the CTA, and the district.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gina Rivera.
Good morning. Good evening. My name is Gina Rivera, and I'm here today to speak about an amazing transformation of my son and the request for all dyslexic children get the same intervention. Just 2 months ago, my 3rd grade son had extreme anxiety and hated school. He felt stupid because he couldn't read, and he spent 90 minutes in a reading class that wasn't helping him. It wasn't teaching him how to decode words the way he needed to learn, so he was frustrated he couldn't read words on the page while his classmates could do it easily. About 2 months ago, I met some moms who told me that my dyslexic son could learn to read if he was taught to read with a program that was proven to teach dyslexics to read. They brought me to a district meeting, and after I explained my son's struggles, Dr. Corcoran called my son's school, and the very next week he started Receive Inspire reading program, 5 days a week for 1 hour. I am forever grateful for Dr. Corcoran's help, since now my son is excited to go to school. He is thrilled that he is finally learning to read, and he finally understands that he's a smart boy, but just learns differently. I'm speaking up today since Palm Beach County needs to make sure all dyslexic children get Spire or a similar program like Wilson started in K and first grade, so these kids can pass 3rd grade reading FSA. The district needs to be more proactive and screen children for dyslexia in K and first grade, and start them in a reading program that is proven to remediate their dyslexia immediately. It takes around 3 years to complete these programs if done 1 hour daily. We know how to teach dyslexics how to read, so please mandate that every school screen and give the right intervention. Too many dyslexic kids are not being identified and then fail 3rd grade FSA, and now these children have been demoralized and their self-worth plummets and anxiety fills their lives. The district's goal by 2021 is to increase reading on grade level by 3rd grade. If the district doesn't mandate screening and proactively give these children the right instruction daily for 1 hour, these kids will continue to fail reading FSA. If you are committed to the strategic plan, mandate screening and services, since all children deserve to learn to read by 3rd grade. And give Spire and Wilson instruction during the 90-minute reading block, since current reading instruction isn't working for dyslexic kids, so why leave them to sit through a class that can't teach them? Thank you for your time, and please require that all schools to screen and teach dyslexics the way they learn for 1 hour so they can learn to read like their peers.
Thank you very much. That concludes our speakers list. Just for the record, we had 4 items that were added for good cause. CI1 deals with payroll and releasing those funds. FC5 was the Construction Oversight Committee change, and this allows for us to do the waiver. And then actually just 3 items, and P2 and P3 personnel items were added to allow for those employees to take their positions. Before we do adjournment, our school police would like for the board to stay for just about 2 minutes. They want to introduce some new officers who will be attending board meetings. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Barbieri, second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor, all opposed, and please stay for just a moment.
technology in every classroom, the opportunity to participate in choice programs, and talented teachers. Coming up on Spotlight on Education, we're going to profile Yaga Middle School.
You want the best for your baby, a healthy birth, a happy home. You want to prepare your child for school and see your graduate take on the world. Children's Services Council is here to help. For more than 30 years, we've championed Palm Beach County's children, and we've created something just for you. Our free Every Parent website and app connects families raising children in Palm Beach County to local tips and resources. Visit us today at everyparentpbc.org.